I'm here today because I never imagined that my own brother would leave me to discover the death of my parents when I walked up to the door and knocked on it, and they were not there.
So your parents died, and you did not know that they had passed away.
That is correct.
But there has to be, I've read the complaint, there is a serious backstory to all of this. My understanding from the complaint is that your parents left the United States and it moved and were living in Switzerland. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, and that you, Eric, were their primary caretakers in Switzerland.
That's right, Your Honor.
Is that correct? And so why didn't your sister know that your parents had passed before she went and knocked on the door?
Your Honor, my name is Eric Lundgren. I was the primary caretaker of my parents while they were living in Switzerland. They moved to Switzerland specifically to be private.
When you say private, what does that mean? Help me understand.
They wanted to be alone, to have their lives. They knew that their lives were coming to an end. They were in decline. My father had advanced ALS. My mother had Parkinson's, progressive Parkinson's disease. They knew that their lives were coming to an end, and they wanted to have that be private and as peaceful as possible. And they explicitly asked me to look over them and not share any information about what was happening in their lives with my sister Ingrid, because she had previously published a memoir that exposed many of the deficiencies and lies that happened in our young lives.
What?
Yes, that is true.
Wait. So you wrote a memoir about your personal lives involving your parents and your sibling?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why? Why would you do that?
Well, you know, I think as a writer, we have an opportunity to express our feelings. Growing up in the family, there was a lot of secrets. I tried to communicate to my family, to my parents specifically, and they would not have those hard conversations. They were not available emotionally. And every time I tried to approach them, I was shut down. Everything was swept under the rug. And as a writer, that's what we do. So I went to my writing and I found this safe space for me to be able to express how I felt. And that's exactly what I did.
So, no. I need to understand more than this. So what your brother is saying is that your parents specifically said that they wanted to leave this country. They wanted to go to Switzerland to live out their lives. They were both terminally seriously ill, and they specifically said, don't tell you, because they wanted to protect their privacy. So there must have been something very devastating about this writing that you did.
Yes, unfortunately, every family dynamic has their own secrets, and the secrets, I think, helped people like me to understand, there was alcoholism, there was physical abuse, there was all these things that happened within our family dynamic.
Your Honor, if I may say, this is Ingrid's opinion, and what she put in that book is not necessarily what happened, and that is specifically why our parents requested that information no longer be, and no information be given to Ingrid anymore, because of the way she distorted what happened in our childhood. I have a memory right here from our parents asking specifically that Ingrid not be told anything about what was happening in their lives while they were in Switzerland.
But you never gave me the opportunity to be able to say goodbye. I mean,
wait a minute. To our son Eric, we ask that our daughter Ingrid not be informed of our declining health or our end-of-life decisions. We love her, but we fear conflict, stress, persuasion during this time. Please respect our wishes for privacy and peace in our final days. It is signed by your parents.
Yes, it is. It is. But also, I think that towards the end of their life, they weren't thinking correctly, and my brother always had...
Well, before the end of their lives, when they were still living in the U.S., what was the relationship with you and your parents?
It was stress.
Here's the deal. I get it that there's family dynamics where things are just too frustrating. I understand that. And there's conflict and it's tension. And so there's distance required for there to be some sort of peace maintained. But here's the thing that I don't get about the situation. If the parents wanted peace and no conflict and they wanted privacy, then that's fine. But now they're dead. So it doesn't matter. You could literally not tell your sister that the parents are declining in health. And the moment that they kick the can, you can go to your sister and say, Mom and Dad are gone. But for whatever reason, you still feel like that needs to remain secret. So she has to continue living her life literally for no reason. You're protecting the secrets of someone who's no longer here. All I know is that they could care less at this point. The moment that they were kicking the can and they were out of here, they do not care whether or not you tell the daughter that they had passed away. And if parents truly love their daughter, their kids, then they would want them to know that they have passed on. So in this situation, I think that this guy right here took his whole role here and what was requested of him way too seriously, when at the end of the day, the daughter needs to know that her parents are no longer breathing in the oxygen of this earth. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this guy is an idiot. I mean, he's a lunatic. The fact that he didn't tell his sister that his parents passed away to protect some sort of secrecy when they're gone, guess what? They do not care if you share any secrets anymore at that point.
If you were going to write the memoir, did you talk to your parents about this before you did it, before it was published?
I tried to contact them. They never wrote me back. They never gave me the...
Did you go and knock on the door?
Yes, actually, I did.
You went to their home. You're under oath. You're telling me that you went to their home and that you tried to talk to them before you had the memoir published. Is that your testimony?
No. My testimony is that I tried to reach out to them and I never heard back. So
That's not the question.
Okay.
The question is, did you go to your parents' house and try to see them and talk to them face to face? That's the question.
No, Your Honor, I did not.
Why not?
Because it took time. It took time to realize that I had to see what my part was. I wanted to be in their life. I really did. And then when I went to therapy, I saw what my part was. I wanted to see what was going on.
But you wrote the memoir before you went to therapy.
Yes, that memoir opened up my eyes. I had to see what my part was. I knew that there was something even more deeper, and I decided to go to therapy.
Well, I'm glad you went to therapy, but my point is, do you understand what kind of impact that may have had on your parents? For
Yes.
all of that to be written and read by people who had no idea of who they were or who you were or who Eric is.
Yes, I understand that, Your Honor, but with
Do
that...
you understand how painful that could have been?
Yes, but I want them to understand how painful it was for me and how many people I helped as a result.
How many people did you help?
I've helped, I can't tell you it, at the book signing, so many people came up to me and said, thank you for writing this memoir, because you don't...
At the expense of our family, you were giving those people help. Who do you think was actually being helped by spreading all those lies about what happened in our family? Because the things that happened in our family, you see, she says that there was alcoholism in our family. That's projection. I think my sister has alcoholism of her own. Fine. She doesn't need to make that projection onto my father or onto my family, or say that our family was not having proper communication. I had good communication
How
with my family.
many nights did you
She
have to
talks
help your
about
father?
not
How
talking
many
to our
nights
parents
did you have to help
about
Dad up the steps?
You talked about
How
not
many
having
times
our
did that happen?
communication with our father, with our parents about the book. They didn't want to talk to her because they didn't trust her. They talked to me because they trusted me, because I was the one who was there.
I think it's really strange that they're going after her for speaking her truth in this situation. Like, of course, she didn't have to probably write some memoir to, release the truth about what was going on behind the scenes. But I think it's strange that she, the victim in the situation, a child, a young person who was experiencing pain of alcoholism and her parents not being seen, not being heard, and then she writes the truth about it, the story about it, to help reconcile herself and heal as the inner child in that situation. And now she, the victim of that, the child, let's all not forget, is now being told that it was painful for the parents. The parents who were going home drunk, the parents who weren't listening to their kids, the parents who were probably deciding that, we are going to disconnect ourselves from our daughter because we just didn't like what she did. That alone tells me the type of parents that they were. And so for the judge and for this idiotic bombastic brother here who's getting so emotional and blaming her for writing a memoir about the experience it is to be a young child and to be ignored and to have to deal with alcoholism and your parents. Those are painful things. And they shape us as we grow up. And for them to put it on her as like, well, it's your fault that you didn't get to know your parents passed away because you wrote a memoir about them. I'm sorry. That makes no sense. And that is crazy. I disagree with the judge and I disagree with this person right now. But what do you guys think?
Because you shut me out. That was the whole motive the whole time. You decided on your own. You manipulated the situation. You killed our parents is what you did.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold it. You're now telling me that your brother killed your parents?
Yes, I feel...
How can you say that?
Well, Your Honor, with due respect, I know that there was a system, and just knowing him from growing up, that he put it in their head. They're Christians. They didn't believe in attempted assisted.
Let's back up. So, your parents made the decision to have end-of-life plans. Eric, talk to me about what they planned. Tell me exactly what their plan was.
In Switzerland, there is a system in place where people can choose to end their own life. I want to show you this document that was signed by Claudia Lundgren and Marcus Lundgren, my parents, saying that they have made this decision on their own and that it is lawful.
And so, anticipating that I was going to hear this case today, I do know that Switzerland has the laws such that people can make those end-of-life decisions, unlike in the United States. And maybe that was part of the reason that they moved to Switzerland?
It may have been.
Okay.
No, I don't believe that, Your Honor.
When they first
no,
moved
I do
there,
not. No, they were from
there.
Switzerland.
We are from Switzerland.
Oh, so your roots are from Switzerland?
Our
Yes,
roots are in
yes,
Switzerland.
and they wanted to go back to retire. He's
Okay.
twisting the story.
So, no, it may have
No,
been
they wanted to
coincidental,
go back
but
to
I believe
they wanted to go back to retire to have that
Okay,
beautiful
so they wanted
landscape.
to go back to retire.
Yes.
All right. Let's just say that they wanted to go back to retire. But as I understand it, their health started to decline further and further and further.
Yes. that
Yes.
is
And what you're saying to me, and what I'm seeing from this document, is that they made the decision that they wanted to be in charge of their health and the decision about what happened in their lives.
Yes, as
I
you may
disagree, Your
know,
Honor.
No,
I disagree. I think that
the end of
you
life
You weren't there!
When my parents first brought this to me, when they first brought this idea to me, I was against it. I asked them not to. But as I watched them decline, and I went to the hospital and I would watch my father shaking more and more and have paralysis on days where he couldn't swing his legs out of bed. And I saw my mother not